Hey everyone, welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry and I'm the host. And as always, I want to thank y'all so much for tuning into this podcast. If you are new, this is a podcast that features people of all ages and they share a bit of their story about how God has helped them to overcome a difficult challenge or situation in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming with God's help. Well, y'all, this is part 2 of episode 15, and it's titled My Journey as a Single Mom of 3, and it features Miss Lucille Patterson. If you have not seen part 1, you will want to go and check it out. In the meantime, y'all, here it is, part 2. Enjoy and be blessed.
I can't have this baby. I won't kill the baby, but you have to take it. I didn't even say baby, because in my mind I wasn't even thinking this being a person. That pregnancy represent foolishness, bad decisions, sin, of course. I hurt God. I hurt myself. I made my life harder. I made our lives harder. It was so. And then I for a while I wouldn't ask God to forgive me, because I wouldn't. Because I didn't think I deserved it. I knew what I did, and I felt like I didn't deserve Him to forgive me. So I wasn't asking for it. And I don't want this pregnancy. That's all I was thinking day in and day out. I can't. And then I was so sick with that pregnancy more than the other two. I couldn't find another job because I couldn't commit to a job. Right. I was so sick. So I'm like, I'm gonna be homeless, have to go move in with my mom again, and I got 2 kids and one on the way. Like, this is really bad. Like, I can't. Wow. And where is he? He's still doing what he's doing. He don't know I'm pregnant again, but what difference would it make? So I'm like, this is really bad. I don't want this pregnancy. So one day, I remember feeling like really, really sick. Like in my stomach, I was having some really bad cramping in my stomach, like really, really bad. And I've been pregnant 3 times, and I had the 3 kids. But at that point, I was pregnant 2 times. I never had a miscarriage or anything like that. But I promise you, I felt like I was losing my baby. And in feeling like that, I'm like, wait a minute. I realized I was being really selfish. All I was thinking about was myself, my image. What am I going to do? What does this look like?
Right.
I feel bad. Bless you.
Bless you, babe.
It's a habit, I cannot say it. But I realized how selfish I was. And I'm like, I'm asking God to kill this person to cover up my stuff. Yeah. And I just, I felt, I'm like, I can't, please don't do it. Don't take my baby. Please don't. So I'm praying and I'm crying and I'm like, please don't take my baby. Don't take my baby from me. So, and then so again about my pregnancy, like I was really high risk. So in my prenatal appointments, I learned that I was carrying her really, really low, like dangerously low. They said it was called something partial previa. I never heard of that before. It's basically where the baby is not in the secured spot that they wanted to be to have a successful carrying term in labor. That if I did carry her full term, I would have to have a cesarean when it was time for her to come. And they will watch me really, really closely because they said I could just sneeze and she and I would bleed to death. I would bleed to death and we both die. And I'm like, so like, and I don't remember if I got the information before this happened or after, but so I had a dream one night. I was at a church And I was in a congregation, and the preacher was preaching, and I'm like, yay, hallelujah. And the preacher comes down from the pulpit. He comes and he stands near me, and he's talking. Like, I can't hear him with my natural ears, but I guess spiritually I could hear him because he was saying something, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I sit back in the chair, and I'm pregnant in the dream. And he put his hand on my belly, and he's doing something like he's praying. So I guess he asked me if he could pray for me. And I sat back, and he touched my belly, and he's praying. And matter of fact, this dream I had before I found out about, like, my carrying, how I was carrying her. So he put his hand low. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait. And he said something else, and I go, okay. And then so he has his hand here, and he's praying. And I look up, and then it was this big, like a drop of, but it was too thick. It was a liquid, but it was thicker than just water. And it splashed my belly. And I woke up. I was like, wow. And then I don't know how much longer after that I found out how I was carrying her. I was like, oh my God. Like, God, he prayed for me. He prayed for us. He prayed for my baby. So I wasn't too happy about, so like most of my term, like carrying her, she was still in that predicament, in that spot, which made it really harder for me. I could barely walk like across the room without feeling winded, and like I was sick all the time. Like it was a lot. So they told me I was definitely gonna have to have a cesarean, and I'm like, I had two natural, well, not natural because I had to epidural.
Two vaginal
Two
births.
vaginal. And I didn't like the idea of them. You know what's so funny is the way I think. I was more concerned about them deciding when my baby was gonna come to the earth, them being cut up. I mean, I was concerned about it, but this was more concerning for me. I was praying to God. I'm like, God, you are in control of this thing. You get to say when somebody come to this world. I want you to decide when my baby comes, not these people. I didn't like it. So I had one final appointment before we were to schedule the cesarean, based on her position. And at that appointment, she had moved up into the right spot.
Wow.
And I didn't have to have a C-section.
Oh, wow. Praise God.
And not long after that, I had her on January the 13th, which is so funny. I'm really weird about patterns, and I don't know, maybe I have some mental issues, I don't know, but
no,
you know, like artistic people, they're really like, they have little tics that and don't pray for me. So I just have this weird thing about patterns. Like, for instance, like when it was just Solomon and Destiny, and my idea of being with their dad, like, we're all like the 4 seasons. Like, my birthday is in the summer, Solomon's in the winter, Destiny's in the spring, and their dad's his in the fall. So I was like, oh, we're the 4 seasons.
Right.
So he's out of the picture, and the new person coming, there's no 4 seasons. But what God did, and this is, God is so strategic about us. Even in all my foolishness and all my sin and all my trying to do things the way I wanted to do it, God's grace has kept me and us all that time. And he's so strategic about us, to the point, like, he do things that doesn't really have to be done per se, but because he care about us, and he care about what we care about. Not so much that he like everything we like or want everything for us that we want, because he understands better. but it matters to him. Everything that's concerning us is a concern for him.
Yeah.
So, and I say that to say because Miss Iyana, comes and Suleiman's birthday is in January. Iyana was born in January. Destiny's birthday is April the 13th. Iyana's birthday is January the 13th. So I was like, oh man. Like that's something like just between me and him. Like, right. Wow. She matches. She fits right in there.
Right.
And then, like, for the longest time, I saw the enemy was plaguing me with the regret of how I felt I didn't want her. And when I realized, like, I look at my baby, like every day, and I'm like, I almost didn't know you. I almost didn't see you. And then, in that dream, seeing her now, she's 15, and my baby, for spring break, she put herself on the fast so she could get closer to God. This is oh my gosh, like this, she's so special. I mean, all of my children are. We gonna have to end this sometime. Right. I can't. But just talking about her because of that situation, and I shared it with her. I wanted to be careful because I know how tricky the enemy can be. But I thought it was important that she knew what was going on with me at that time as a part of her testimony of who she is and how important she is and how necessary it was for her to be here. I think it was necessary for me to tell her because I feel like it's something that God wants. It's something that I need to tell her for their for their relationship between him and her.
Right.
I really felt like that.
Right.
And and then splash in my belly, I thought about like Jeremiah, not even just Jeremiah. Just the scripture where God said, "I knew you." You know, formed you before I formed you in your mom's womb, and like He anointed her in my belly.
That's right.
He let me see. He anointed her in my belly.
That's right.
This one, something extra special about this one, and the fact that like she came with all of that stuff going on around her, like the sin was in my decisions. But the child is a blessing.
Yes, that's right.
And not only is she a blessing, He gave her some extra stuff. You know, in spite of how she came, she gonna do His will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, absolutely. So. Wow. Yeah.
They all are though.
They all are.
I declare that in the name of Jesus. Suleiman, that's in Iyana are gonna do mighty things in this world for Christ, and they will live and not die and declare the work of the Lord in the land of the living. And when they pass on, they're going to live in glory with the Lord, with me.
Absolutely. Yes, of course, I know your children, and I think I've known you guys now for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years maybe, something like that.
How old are they? Selena was 16, so let's do that.
So about 6 years. So, just in the time that I've known them, I've watched them grow. More so your daughters than Suleiman. But I have had the opportunity to have conversations with all of them. And having known some of your story and what you shared before today, and hearing them, just with talking to them and just seeing just observing them, I'm like, wow, God's hand is on each of them.
Absolutely.
Truly on each of them. And I'm just encouraged when I can see or hear about such a testimony as yours and see the outcome of how, despite it all, because you invited God in at some point, He strategically placed His hand on each of them. And I've seen that with my own eyes. And so you definitely have blessed children. You do.
I do.
You do. So, You answered so many of my questions
All
in
in
what
one.
you shared, which was awesome. I want to ask you, what are your prayers like for your children at this point in time?
I'm always praying for covering, of course, but more important, well, that's very important, but as far as their relationship with him, because I understand through my own life how my relationship with God has helped me. Like, because I know people that say, oh, Lucy, you're so strong. Like, you went through this. I'm not strong because I want to be. I'm strong because facing the issues that I had to face, I had to be to survive it. And God's grace and His protection and His hand got me through it.
Yeah.
Without me going to drugs or
Yeah.
running from bed to bed and other stuff. Like I asked Him to keep me, like, be real, and of course God's gonna be real with us, period. But I put myself in a place where I'm like, God, be brutally honest with me, if need be. Keep me aware of, because like, and even like with my family history, I noticed that a lot of people, like, they like to what's the word I want to use, the I don't want to call them delusional. But, like, people like to create these little worlds that they live in to be comfortable with their stuff. I'll put it like that. And I notice it's a trait and generational curses and things of that nature. So I was aware of that. So those are things that I pray about against myself, all for myself and all for my children. I want Him to let me be clear about what's really. If I do something, I'm gonna make an educated decision. I mean, most of the time, because sometimes we let our emotions, like, get in the way, and our understanding is kind of tempered with. But, like, he keep me real about things, and I would ask Him, like, God, keep them like you kept me.
Absolutely.
I always pray for protection, but I ask Him to don't let them, like, that yoke He got, keep them where I can. Don't let them sleep in their sin. Don't let them be comfortable in their sin.
That's right.
Don't let them be comfortable with doing anything that goes against their will, your will for them. I ask Him to, because the word, and I teach them to where I try to use everything we've been through as a teaching moment. I'm really transparent with them, and I'm laughing because of a conversation we had.
Okay. I think I know what you're about to say.
When you ask me, like, how much is it okay to say in front of your kids? Because I know this. I'm I'm really transparent with them. I think it's important that kids see. Now, I'm very, like, I'm a disciplinarian. I like my kids to know, even when we joking, never forget I'm your mother. You are not talking to your friend.
Right.
We are not on the same level. Even if we plan, remember who you're talking to. Everything is not for everybody. And they get it. Sometimes I gotta remind them, but that's natural. But I try to be transparent about what I'm dealing with, because a lot of times, and I've seen this, where we go through stuff in life, and, like, sometimes you don't want to talk to your parents about certain stuff you're dealing with, because you're like, I don't even like that I'm thinking like this, or I've done that, or and you're like, and you thinking about what you know about your parents, like, they probably gonna be like, what kind of kid I got? You thinking like they gonna throw you away, or just the shame, the embarrassment, because you thinking, like, my parents, I know them, they never done anything like this, or they've never thought like that, and a lot of times we don't get the support that we can get from our parents, because we thinking that what we are doing, what we've done is beneath them.
Right.
That they just couldn't understand, because they are not. They haven't done that.
Right.
They wouldn't think that. And I didn't want that to be a barrier between me and my kids. They don't know everything about me. They don't need to.
Right.
But they know enough to know that I am not perfect. And you'd be surprised what I know. You'd be surprised what I've been through.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what I've experienced. And I like to tell my kids, like, smart people do stupid stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you don't ever think that you can't bring something to me. Because we're all human. We all make poor decisions, poor judgment. I'm like, I've never been married and I have 3 children. I'm just saying, that's obvious. Like, I mean, God has forgiven me. My life is different. I'm different. But it is what it is. You know, I made that decision. And it made my life hard.
Yeah.
It made our lives hard. But we got through it. And I like to tell my kids, like, it's funny because, like, one-on-one, I'm like, I'm team Suleiman. I'm team Destiny. I'm team Iyana. But you need to understand that, like, because I'm like, we're open. Let's talk. And I'm like, don't ever be afraid to come to me about anything. But I want you to understand, you can't dictate how I respond. Don't be afraid not to come to me, because you don't know how I'm going to respond. Because at the end of the day, I was like, if you do something that's stupid and just totally outrageous, I'm going to be upset. Because I know how I raised you. I know what I've taught you. And you just made a really bad decision that can make your life so much harder.
Right.
And I'm not going to like it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're going to get together. We're going to put our heads together. We're going to deal with it. And we're going to get past it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I try to, like, have that door open and let them know, like, listen. By the time I was your age, I already did, like, 10 dumb things. So you already got 10 things up on me. But don't let it go to your head.
Right.
But I try to, like, you know, keep that door open in our relationship so that I can have access to help them, you know, at least not burn the bridges I burn. And, of course, at the end of the day, they're going to make their own decisions. But a lot of times, people don't, like, get that help from their parents because they don't think that they can.
That's true.
So
that's true. Yeah. I definitely just admire what I've seen about you with, you know, you see the result of how you've raised your children in your children, right? So I've seen just the manifestation of prayers that you've prayed and just how you've raised them and talked about God to them, taught them things about God and how they live their lives and how they converse and how they, you know, just care for others. You know, I can see that, and I attribute a lot of that to you, and how God just was all up in it the whole time. You know, his grace was truly sufficient for you.
yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions. The first thing is, how have you maintained your sanity throughout all of this?
I think I am insane. So no, I just play. I play too much. No, like, it's God's grace. It's his grace. There's been some close calls. Like, you gotta have the kids on hand and ask them.
Okay.
I'm gonna let them, like, I ain't even gonna look at them. But God's grace, like, he's kept me. There are times I'm like, look, I can't do this no more. I don't. This kid, I don't know. And let's be clear. Like, my children, nobody's perfect. We're all people. We're living in this world. We're growing up. They came into some wild situation due to no fault of their own. So, like, there's stuff. We have stuff. period. But my children have never, like, I didn't have the running away stuff. I'm not, and it's so funny because I would tell my kids little stuff. They thought I was crazy. Because I random. We sitting there watching them like, oh. And if anybody decide like they're not happy here and they want to run away, you don't take anything I paid for that doesn't belong to you. You start a new life on your own. I'm not gonna stop you. I'm not gonna chase you. I'm not gonna like waste my money to find. I'm not. Listen, things are not perfect here, but they could be a lot worse.
Right.
If you feel like you can do better by yourself. Who am I to stop you?
Right.
Like, because that's not, I'm doing the best I could do.
Yeah.
It's not fair to me. You want to be running away and people using all these resources. I'm not doing that. Oh, look at this scene. And they sitting there like.
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go unpack my bag. I was gonna run away tomorrow. And so I would do stuff like, and I'm not trying to be heartless. I was a kid. I get it. I remember a time I told Suleiman, and it's not that just because he's a boy. A lot of times when you see family dynamics, when there's just a mom in the home and there are boys. A lot of times, like, and where I'm from, you know, I come from the hood of Baltimore City. What hood and all of them, everywhere. We moved around a lot.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like young boys don't have their father around to keep them together. I kept my son together, and I would like he would get a lot of the random conversations because I'm a female, so I can relate better to the girls, like firsthand. So I can say, oh, I know this. I can. Right. But with Suleiman, like certain things, I'm just trying. The Holy Ghost is leading me, and I'm trying to like because I'm not a guy. Yeah. So I would tell him I'm like, and don't get me wrong, like I would like when my kids are doing right. I am a cheerleader. I'm doing. What we gonna do? We're getting rewarded. We're gonna go out. We're gonna do this. So I'm just as like adamant, like when they're doing wrong, and when they're doing right. I'm responding extra, but I'm responding. So I told Suleiman once. I think I was washing the dishes. So funny. And then I look at him, and he's getting older. He's like 11 or 12. And I'm thinking about, like, he's about to enter the twilight zone of teenage life. And I remember how I felt as a teenager. Like, everything was like, everybody was getting on my nerves. Like, what? What do you want? Like, I remember my dad telling me to give up the phone after midnight. I'm like, I'm not hurting anyone. Like, I'm home. I'm a good child. Like, it's just the phone. Get off the phone. I didn't get it. Yeah. So I understand, and it's all of a sudden. Yeah. So I'm trying to warn him before he get to those years not to play with me. I'm like, if you decide that you want to hang out with some kids that are out in this world doing whatever they want, acting crazy, and you get into some legal trouble and you go to jail, I'm going to leave you there. I don't think it's fair that I should spend my hard-earned money that I work for. I'm living life. I'm a law-abiding citizen to take out of our mouths to get you out of some trouble that you wasn't thinking about us. Yeah. I'm saying you wasn't. He like, I ain't do nothing. I'm like, if you decide that this is the type of person you want to be, I just want you to be aware of how I'm going to respond. But you're a good kid. And I'm proud of you. Let's keep it that way.
Let's keep it that
so
way.
So he's like, so you already know when you outside and the thing, Suleiman has never been attracted to those sorts of things. He didn't want to hang around people that was in wild stuff. Right. So he was never attracted to that stuff. I just, but like I said, when you become a teenager, you don't know who this person, they don't even know who they're going to be. Like, it's just so iffy. I'm like, I just want you to be clear. Yeah. And I always tell them, pray and ask God what type of mother he's giving you.
That's right.
This is important for you to be informed.
Yeah.
You didn't know what you're dealing with over here.
I love it. Hilarious.
So, and then with that, I would top it with prayer. Like, I would pray for insight on who they are and the best way to respond to them, to relate to them. That would be effective because we're all different. We have learning styles, and then not above even that, God put a whole bunch of special things in us, and as a parent, my job is to like harness those things. Right. Like I have to know what that is. And he's given me insight. He's got on me about like, you didn't have to do that. I'm like, oh man. And I'm not afraid to tell my kids, I apologize for something or other. It's not an instant thing.
Right.
So, and then they're open. They know I've opened the door to like, hey, if you feel like we had an interaction and you feel like you were mistreated or perspective is a big deal. Whether I'm going to agree with you or not, whether we're going to, it's important that you tell me how you feel. Right. Because at the end of the day, I don't want them to start shutting down. Right. And we lose that relationship because, and I come out of a lot of dysfunction. One of my biggest prayers was that I don't want to screw these people up. Like, you left them to me to become decent people. Are you sure? Because I'm pretty messed up. So I was always scared in the back of my mind of that. Like, and then it's so funny because I thought that their dad, like, I thought he would be a better parent than I, because he had a different upbringing. Of course, everybody got stuff. Nobody's perfect. But he had a better upbringing than I did, a more loving situation than I did. And I feel like my parents did the best they knew how to do. And it took me a long time to make my peace with that. Yeah. But it is what it is. It was what it was. And I was scared. I was so afraid. And with him being on again, off again, my kid's father, not full-time present and involved. Right. It's me, and poor kids got to put up with me. So, like, I would pray, like, God, don't let me mess these kids up and teach me, show me. And I've grown up as a parent, into like a person with integrity, and I've learned to love myself more by loving them, if that even makes sense. Like, because there are certain things I would have allowed myself to go through if it were just me, or there was a lot of things I wouldn't fight for. Like, as if, I'm a fighter. If I see the point of it, if I can't get past without fighting, yeah. But if it's something I can walk away from, I've been at it and it's, I'm out of here. Yeah. But with my children, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I had to fight harder and longer and things that I would have given up on. I learned how to love properly through loving them. I learned how to love myself because I have to carry myself a certain way. I have to protect them. I can't allow myself to be in certain predicaments because they you know, they would fall victim
That's right.
to what I put myself through. So, and it's kind of, it doesn't, I'm not ashamed to speak on those, having those issues, because a lot of people have issues they don't want to talk about.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, and they don't know that other people are dealing with
Absolutely.
it. And somebody and waiting for somebody to be transparent.
Yes, yes.
And like, it's not so bad. I mean, I'm not so bad, because it could be really bad that nobody else understands what I'm dealing with. Yeah, most of us do. A lot of people don't want to talk about
That's
it.
right.
I'm okay with talking about it because I'm not worried about what people think about me. God already let me know my life was gonna be a life to share, that people who can't talk about it, can't ask for help.
Right.
They're gonna get the help. They're gonna be healed through my transparency.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not afraid, because it's at the end of the day, it's about what God thinks about me.
That's right.
And it's about Him anyway. He get the glory.
That's right.
So
that's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I'm glad that you're on here, because, you know, as you know, that's the purpose of this podcast, is so that people will hear stories of those who are here sharing, and they'll be healed. They'll be set free, you know. They'll be encouraged in some way. So before I have you encourage our audience, which I'm sure they already have been encouraged by much of what you've shared already, I do want to ask you this. Do you desire marriage one day? You've been a single mom since you were 18. And yes, you've shared the relationship over the years with your children's dad and all that. Do you desire marriage one day?
I do. I have since day one. Sometimes it kind of plagues me if I let it. But at the same time, I'm at a place where I have learned to be content. My worth is still what God made it the day He decided to make me. Regardless of what I've been through, regardless of all the decisions, good and bad decisions, God has allowed me to see, like, my worth is not determined by whether or not I have a man or not. It took me a while to see that, though. Even though it's so funny, because the type of person I am, I didn't like that I felt like having a man with me would validate my worth. Because I'm like, I'm a good woman. I'm marriage material. I'm not a cheater. Right. I'm not bad on the eyes. Right. And there's so many other good things I feel like I know about me. And I'm not perfect. I have flaws. And some of them, God had to tell me, like, those flaws doesn't stop you from being amazing.
That's right.
So he's had to deal with me about the way I feel about some of my flaws. I'm learning to love me, and that, like he said, like, my value is still intact. Because it's bigger than, like, what I want to say. Like, you know, the world, they put little, like, labels on us, stipulations on what we should do and where we should be about this time in our lives. And especially being a woman. I was born in 1980. It's so funny because my kid's like, 80?
I get that now.
That's yesterday to me.
Right.
So I still, at that time, it was still like, people were still like, okay, when you grow up, you gotta get married, you gotta have kids. But then I'm in the era where you can have a career, your own business, but you still married, and the mom, you somebody's woman. And then after, so you're not married yet.
Right.
And then, so you start picking on your own self.
That's right.
When I hit 40, I almost had a day going meltdown. Because I'm like, I don't even have a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm,
I'm like,
mm-hmm,
what?
mm-hmm.
I'm like, at this rate, I'm gonna be in a nursing home. Somebody gonna be like, hey. I'm like, no, too late now. I wanted to grow old with you,
Right.
not be old with you. Get out of here. And I'm gonna forget what I said and say it again. I really did like have in mind like some of the hard stuff I deal with, like with the kids at the times. I don't know how to handle the situation that's here right now. I don't know what to do. And of course, God has always been there. And I'm like, and then I want to be careful too, because I'm like, I wish somebody was right here with me in body. I don't have to be strong today. I don't have to be the disciplinarian today.
Right.
I don't have. I can just say go to him.
Right.
I'll clock back in maybe in a few minutes, hours
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all me all
Yeah,
the time.
that's a lot.
So a lot of times I feel like at those moments is when I be more like, I wish I had somebody
to help.
But then I don't want to be like the Israelites when they asking for a king, and God is saying, I am your king. You come straight to me. I don't want, and you know, and you get the lesser, and you miss the greater.
Yep.
So I mean, it doesn't have to be either or. You can have both. It all depends on what God's will is for your life and seasons in your life. Because there's no guy that has my attention. I'm so sick of you. You see me in a situation. We talked about that. It becomes really annoying. Like, I'm at a place in my life where there's no shaking up, and I raised my kids like, if you're entertaining a young man, you need to first know that God is approving of this, and there's no dating around. If the God has a man for you, that is the guy for you.
That's right.
And there's no sex before marriage, and of course they gonna do what they want to do. I'm just teaching my kids the right way, you know. And if you're dating a guy and you say, well, I'm waiting until I get married, and he like, well, I'll wait, that guy's not the right guy. His response should be great, because I'm not having sex until I get married because of my relationship with God.
That's right.
I didn't have that when I was younger. I didn't have somebody to say, this is the energy that you need to have. And when he says that you're a baby, or when he says that we've been together, we love each other, when you're at the point where he's saying, well, I'm going to leave, you can say, bye.
Right.
And be confident that you made the right decision. And this is what it looks like when he is for you.
That's right.
God taught me over the years. I just learned that. In that situation, I mean, like the gist of it for myself. In that situation that I was sharing with you, I really just learned that, because he was teaching me, like, this is the posture that the man, a godly man for you, is gonna have.
Yep.
And this is not.
Yep.
You're not losing anything if this isn't how he's coming at you.
That's right.
And it does help with, because you get those thoughts, like, especially me, like, at my age, I'm like, what the heck? Like, you get those thoughts, like, maybe I'm just meant to be by myself. And if I am, that's fine. Because my life, my whole purpose of being here is bigger than that.
Right. So again, you shared a lot today, and I want to thank you for all that you shared. And I do want to let you know that I just do admire you. Just from what I've seen, I've known you for, like we said, 5-6 years now, but I have observed your walk and you as a mom and you as a Christian woman. And I just want to say, keep going. And I do believe that God is covering your children. He's covering you. And he just has greater in store. He has greater in store. So you're an inspiration.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration to me. And I'm sure that you're an inspiration to your children, to your family, and to others who are watching you.
I hope so.
Yes, yes. So I want us to close, and I want you to just share whatever's on your heart as far as advice or encouragement for our audience.
I just want to encourage people to keep God first, and that relationship with Him, keeping Him involved with everything. I feel like that's the reason why I got Him involved. He's involved with everything because I invited Him to be involved with everything, and I'm grateful. Just be encouraged, keep Him first, and be obedient.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, y'all heard it. I'm sure that you got much wisdom today, many nuggets today from Lucille, and I hope that single moms who have watched this, or even single dads who have watched this, are truly blessed and encouraged by her story. And just know, again, like she said, we all have something to share. And if we are willing, if we are open to just share a bit of what we've gone through, we may be able to help someone else. So be sure to share this episode with someone that you know. It can bless and encourage them. Like this episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, Breakthrough Conversations, and definitely leave a comment in the comment section just letting me know what stood out from this episode today. So be sure to tune in for the next episode, y'all. Until then, be blessed. Have a wonderful day.